All right, great. The time is now 7:31. I will call this virtual meeting of the Yardley Borough Council to order. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Marianne, if you could proceed with our roll call.
Sure. Ms. Thompson?
Present.
Ms. Siegel Morris?
Here.
Mr. Ross?
Here.
Mr. Feiner?
Here.
Thought I see. Mr. Curtin?
Present.
And Mr. Brea?
Present. And I believe that's all 7 of us, which constitutes quorum. We're also joined by Mayor Harding this evening. First up, we're going to move into community announcements. This is an opportunity for members of both council and of the public to share items for the public good. And I am going to begin with one which I mentioned during our community development meeting, but I'd like to mention it here also, which will be of interest to some of our local businesses, particularly our restaurants, and that is regarding a new county grant opportunity. The County of Bucks received a little over $7 million from the state last week, which is to be allocated for a hospitality industry recovery program. They are accepting applications between March 15th and April 2nd, and will be dispersing grants that will range from $5,000 to $50,000 to help cover operating expenses for hospitality businesses. So I was taking a peek at some of the guidelines that does extend to food services and restaurants, and payroll would be included in operating expenditures. So given that these are grants and times are still tough, I think that would be something a lot of our businesses might be very interested in. So applications are through the Bucks County Redevelopment Authority. Hopefully some of our folks can see some of that money. Does anyone else have an item for community announcements? Any member of the public community announcement? Dr. Perlmutter, I see you with an announcement.
Yes, I mean, I hope I'm not, Councilman Siegel Morris is probably going to announce this, but the third in the series of the flood webinars is tomorrow night at 7. And this one involves residents who went through the flood, and Dan Moon and Carl Perilla and myself are going to be participating. And I'm going to have a lot of images that have never been seen before. I think a lot of residents might be interested in seeing that. I hope I didn't take away from her announcement. Thanks.
Nope, thank you for sharing. As Perlmutter mentioned, that is tomorrow, and these webinars are all part of the public education portion of Yardley's participation in the community rating system. So not only are we helping each other navigate what it's like to be in a flood or how to prepare for one, but hopefully we will see some returns in the form of premium discounts on the other side because we have this program in place. Any other announcements tonight? All right, hearing none, we're going to move on to the public comment portion of the meeting. This is the portion of the meeting during which members of the public may address council regarding items that do not appear on the agenda. If you wish to address council regarding an item that does appear on our agenda, you'll be given the opportunity to do so during council's deliberation of that particular business item. Members of the public are asked to please state their name and address for the record. And to be acknowledged, please utilize the raise hand function in Zoom. Of course, if that fails, you can turn on your camera and wave at us in real life, whatever works. Do we have any public comment this evening? Going once, going twice. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting. Item number 6 is consideration of the consent agenda dated for tonight, March 2nd. There are a number of items on tonight's consent agenda. I'll read them off now. It's approval of the minutes dated for February 16th, approval of the bills list dated today. There are two certificates of appropriateness, 21-4, which is for 56 Canal Street, it's a roof, 21-06, 25 East Afton Avenue, that is for a sign. There's an event permit for the Yardley Friends Meeting Flea Market, and an event permit and banner permit for the Memorial Mile and 5K, which is sponsored by our Parks and Rec Board. Would any member of council like one of those items to be considered separately from the consent agenda? All right, hearing none, we'll consider that unanimous consent. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda dated tonight, March 2nd?
So moved.
Second that.
Second.
Motion was made by Ms. Thompson, seconded by Ms. Siegel Morris. Are there any discussion, questions, or comments from council? Any discussion from the public? Hearing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries 7-0. Next up on our agenda is a report from Chief Kelly.
Good evening, sir, and thank you. I have a brief report tonight, which is just the monthly statistics for February 2021. In that month, we recorded 482 calls for service. We issued 2 parking tickets, issued 54 moving traffic citations, investigated 6 traffic accidents, and made 1 arrest, which was not for DUI. That concludes my report, sir.
All right, thank you, Chief. Moving on, next is our engineer's report from Ms. Coletti from Remington Vernick. Liz, floor is yours.
Hi there, can everyone hear me? Awesome. In regards to general updates, I don't have anything new other than what was provided in the report previously submitted. Unless anyone has any questions, I'll move right into project updates. All right, moving into project updates. Nothing new to report on Main and Afton. We're still waiting on payrolls from the construction to be able to close that out. Mary Yardley Bridge replacement, we had a nice discussion about that at the last Public Works meeting, and we have some items we need to address. RVE will be working with the solicitor to make sure we put together the appropriate paperwork to allow access during construction to the Celentano property, and we are still on schedule to get our permits submitted by the end of this week. So that should all be good. And then we'll be providing the bridge committee with an updated budget so that they can continue fundraising. But again, we will still not have a final cost until we get through the bid package, which we will not be doing until we receive our permits. So that's all moving along. Pico property, still waiting to hear what's going on with Pico. I know Paula recently reached out to them again and is waiting on them. And then North Main Sidewalk, we were able to schedule the utility relocation meeting with PennDOT and Pico for March 8th. So that is on the schedule for next Monday. And that's it.
Thank you, Liz. Any questions for our engineer?
One question, Liz, about the North Main sidewalk. I had read that the projected timeline right now for sort of looking forward, putting the project out to bid would be the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if there's a sense of when in the summer, and if it looks like we'd be under construction in the fall. Is that looking likely right now, or in the summer? Or, what's kind of, you can give us a sense, because spring's almost here.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're hoping to start construction in the summer, going into the fall. Like, that's the ideal. It will obviously depend on permits, but right now the HOP process is going very smoothly in comparison to the phase 1. So I really don't see why we wouldn't be on time for that. The only other time restriction per se is that we're waiting to hear back on some of the grants that we applied for. And the one grant in particular, the MTF grant through PennDOT, we applied for that specifically for only the construction aspect of the project, none of the design, since we knew we wouldn't find out about it until the summertime. So,
And in terms of the availability of construction for like this magnitude, small magnitude of project compared to other road projects, et cetera, do you foresee any issues with that in terms of what the present industry of construction is like?
you mean getting people to actually bid on it?
Yeah.
That's a fair question. We're not the only borough that has projects of this magnitude. There's definitely others. But I could take a look around and see what other municipalities saw last year that did projects of the same magnitude and same cost to see, because conditions are relatively similar. And I can let you know, but I don't recall anybody having severe issues with getting bids. And if they did, we just rebid things and made sure to call certain firms that we'd worked with in the past.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't need any further info. I just wanted to get a sense if there was any, because I remember we had that problem in the past. If there was any sort of general sense of the industry. It doesn't sound like it's over, kind of in too high demand from what I gather from what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll have the issue of nobody bidding because they're too busy. I don't think that will be the issue at all.
Oh, too busy for a project this small kind of thing, because that did happen to us in the past.
Yes, yeah. But I think with the cost of this, since it has a stormwater component, that does bring us up in cost to an amount that I think will still be attractive enough for some of the smaller construction firms.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Sure. Dawn?
Hi, at the last Public Works meeting, you brought up the parking lot expansion project, the issue that resulted in the erosion of Silver Lake Creek banks. And then there was an issue with the, I guess, grading permits with the country club that that something had gone through and the borough were kind of kept out of the loop with that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that ever, do you have any more information on that at all?
I don't have anything more specific on that. We are reaching out to DEP to see if there's any way we can have them pay attention to the one culvert that does lead right into that area of Silver Creek that they, as part of the permit package that they submitted, is not slated to have any work done on it right now. So we're still trying to work through that. But as was stated in that Public Works meeting, Matt Ross is looking into potentially having a grading permit here in the borough so that we don't find ourselves in that kind of situation again where we were not giving the opportunity to comment.
Thanks.
And Liz, and this may be a question for you or Matt. Once the sidewalk project is approved and we are going forward, do you have an estimate on how long construction will take from, I'll use the term breaking ground until it's complete?
I think it's about 1 month is what we have right now in the schedule, but I can definitely double check and see what that is. It's not very long. Like there's not a whole lot to the project at all. It's like a couple of houses that we're doing more of the sidewalk for. Matt, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, it'll realistically probably be 2 weeks, but till it gets closed out, it'll probably be maybe a month for all the inspections and all the stuff. But physical construction will probably be, a couple weeks.
And this is to Cold Spring, Matt? That's the extension of this part of it?
Oh, no, it's further. It's to 136 North.
Okay, to the Celentano property.
Correct. Yep.
Okay,
Yes. We're picking up where the sidewalk left off at around Wayfaring,
Yeah.
crossing over Cold Springs, which will include a handicap ramp, and then go out to 136 North to tie into the existing easement.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And Liz, I had a quick question. What about the Mary Yardley Bridge? I know we applied for an additional grant. Is there any update on that?
The DVRPC Trails grant, I was actually looking into that earlier today to see if they announced it because they were supposed to meet last month and I have not seen any announcements. But I will reach back out to the person that was reviewing our application and see what they have to say.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council for our engineer? All right, seeing none, I think that wraps it up.
All righty, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is report from our Borough Manager Johnson.
Besides my report that I already submitted to you, I just wanted to let you know that our public works contractor did pick up a couple tons of hot patch today. So he's going to be doing the potholes since we have warmer weather coming tomorrow and the next day. So after Friday, if you see any spots that we missed, please reach out and let us know, because we do anticipate having some extra. And then also I needed to get council's consensus that there is a zoning hearing board at the end of this month on the 22nd that will be in the flood zone. So do you want to send representative from Bucky's office to defend our floodplain ordinance? And that is it.
Right, so let's take up that floodplain item. None of the past several hearings we have sent solicitor to represent the borough to give us at least party status, which, correct me if I'm wrong here, Bucky, preserves our option to pursue further action, but does not necessarily mean that we're objecting to anything.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, great.
I have a question. I don't remember when we talked about this, but was this the one that it was an issue under the old ordinance and is not an issue under the new one, or this is a different one?
No, this is a different one. This one it's two parcels. One, they're knocking down the house, rebuilding, which is okay because it's on the same footprint. But then the other parcel, they want to build a brand new house.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So we would need a motion at this point if we wish to send our solicitor to the zoning hearing board. So do I hear a motion to that effect?
I will make a motion to send Borough Solicitor to the zoning hearing board meeting. What's the date, Paula?
March 22nd.
On March 22nd to represent the borough.
And Paula, is there an address or some identifier for the application?
123 Bell Avenue.
For 123 Bell Avenue.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
All right, motion was made by Ms. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Ross to have Kurtman Hefner represent the borough at the zoning hearing board regarding 123 Bell Avenue. Any questions, comments, concerns from council? Any comment from the public? I'm hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries 7-0. Paula, was that end of your report?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Thank you. Moving on, Mr. Klosser for solicitor's report.
Thank you, but I don't have any report this evening.
Thank you. Mayor Harding, your report.
Thank you, Council President Bria, but I have no report this evening either.
All right, thank you. Let's see if we can make it before 8 o'clock. Moving into council member reports. Mr. Curtin, you're up first.
No report. Keep it going.
We're on a roll, Mr. Ross.
No report.
Ms. Siegel-Morris.
I do have one brief thing to bring up from public safety. As council may have received from Chief, Governor Wolf is considering instituting a fee for service for state police. And the chief has put together a resolution for everybody to look at, and Paula will be distributing that. I guess the chief could probably explain it a little more clearly than I could, but it isn't likely that we would ever need to use state police services, but under the new rule or the latest iteration of Governor Wolf's proposal, all all boroughs would end up having to pay a fee, whether they use state police services or not.
And just as a follow-up, our allotment was just under 10,000 or something like that, right? Oh, you're on mute, Chief.
All right, I was backwards. It's around 7,800 off the top of my head.
And Chief, that only applies to boroughs, not townships, I guess, under the theory that the boroughs are bigger users of those services?
No, sir, it would apply to every municipality in the state, and the funding formula is a little hard to follow. It runs from pennies per resident, like up to $100 per resident. And it doesn't really reflect whether or not you have full-time police, part-time police, or no police whatsoever. I could send you a calculator if you want to take a look at it and see what I'm talking about.
I'll take your word for it.
The actual calculator, so you can look town by town.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, Paula will be forwarding that to that resolution that Chief drafted for all council members to look at before our next meeting. And that is all.
I think this might be one that might be helpful if folks can research it ahead of time and send any questions to Chief ahead of time, because there's a lot of technical aspects to it that we might need to research.
If it's okay, ma'am, I'll get that link to Paula that contains the background article with the actual town calculator, so everybody can look through that in the meantime.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on for myself, I have no report, so we'll move on to Councilperson Thompson.
No report.
All right, Mr. McCann,
No report.
and finally, Mr. Finer.
I'll be very as brief as possible. Just happy to say that we have 3 applicants for the open position on HARB. So we hope to bring that information to council to make a decision probably at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda, we have no further scheduled items, but I'll go through the motions anyhow. An opportunity for discussion items. Does any member of council have a business item they'd like to introduce for general discussion? All right, hearing none, and we have no other business tonight, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Night.
Good night.